Yo, what is good, my anime people? What is good, yo? I know I wasn't gonna use this giant axe wielding type of character, but seeing Nemesis and thinking about the things that happen in this world kind of remind me of something that Nemesis kind of, stands for in a sense. uh, Manufacturing certain people or certain, things to become much powerful to then be able to control them and manipulate them any way they see fit. So it's one of those types of things that in this show we've seen quite a bit of it to the point now where uh, a person who is straight up protecting, a certain aspect of the government or like just a certain corporation that we're against that is implanting people with the extensions illegally or doing it to the case where they shouldn't be able to do it. We're seeing these instances of what everybody around and everybody who has been you know necessarily taken in or given the opportunity to work for them, we see how they see things and what they kind of don't care to tell us. So the one thing we learn very quickly is, how heartless and easy it is for this man to know that uh, while Colt is trying to attack them, he knows that the government pretty much, or like, his organization anyway, has put up enough screens and enough fire, like resistance to not take any true damage. And that's mainly due to the fact of them just using, the knowledge that they already have of people making moves and then just capitalizing on it. So, wow, I forgot he gets a command grab. So because of that, it's very, very interesting in the grand scheme of where all of this is kind of going to go at the end of the day, because I feel like we don't know, right? Wow, he's using them both. Okay. We don't know, and because of that, it leads us to believe that whatever kind of happens at the end of the day, either extensions or not are going to be, banned. Not so much banned in the case where you can never do it again, but it's getting there, right? Like, it's not too far off from what we're seeing in this show. I mean, not seeing, but from everything that's happening, what's going to lead after, if they get exposed for what they're doing or even what they're trying to create, that is completely against all things that they're supposed to be doing. It's obvious what happens after that, right? We know that they're going to be put in a position where they can't really squirm their way out. And after they do try to squirm their way out, they'll just find themselves in a worse position than they already were in because of all the evidence that keeps piling up. But for some reason, that evidence keeps disappearing too. So that's how much power these guys really do have, is whatever kind of comes out against them, they have ways to snuff it out. They have ways to get rid of it. So that's another reason why it's such a corrupt and interesting world, because not only do they have these people, there's no one really doing anything to stop it, right? Like, no one really cares to put their foot down and be like, okay, if this is all happening and we get more evidence of them doing this, and then somehow, the people who would have had the evidence and would have showed up end up dying, or they end up just losing all credibility of the evidence, it should be obvious, like you should then start trailing and tracking every single thing you hear even more thoroughly, because clearly whatever's happening to the people that get anything, any dirt, end up going out and dying. Or like Colt, he was going to get framed with all of this different stuff that was about to happen to the kids and to I forgot the other people that were on board, but it was nothing but civilians. Colt's whole mission this day was to attack the people who deserve to be attacked, and somehow those people who deserve to be attacked were smart enough to actually have all of their things put together when it came down to believing an attack is possible. And because of that, wind up not even getting in a position where they can lose, right? So, as a whole, man, seeing Juzo like straight up just do his own thing, and every time he did something in this week's episode, he was getting it done. It's almost as if once we, the audience, watch him, he's a lot more clumsy, he's a lot more charismatic. He has, more input to put in than, he's usually does, like this week's episode, where the one thing he actually puts in is like, oh, you took too long to explain what you're gonna do to that girl, and I grabbed the sword, hurt myself, and slapped the crap out of you. Like, that was about the most, like, besides that and him asking a question like, who put you up to this, or like, you're the middleman, so who's the person that is not, who's running the show, and by giving him a name and him reacting to it, that's about all we get from the gunhead this whole episode, which is what I kind of adore about other shows, that you have this main character that's unique, that's powerful, that's all these different things, but instead of just letting him be the front runner, we now have to uh, you know see if these other characters who are important to the story can lead the story, and they did very well. Like, this was a very sad episode for many reasons in the case of what happens towards the end, including what was happening really close, or right before we even get to the end with the train cars. So it's one of those things where I did not expect this show to have so much life and personality come out of it. But at the same time, with the show with a guy with a gun for a head, that's what you should really expect, is the writer to make it somehow uh, the story credible for people and viewers like myself to tell others that it's not a bad show and that it's worth watching. You gotta somehow convey that, and by doing so, already in this show, I definitely am looking forward to what overall is supposed to be the end all be all of, the organization that's making all these moves to make people closer to being machines than humans. And like I was saying, the person who was on the train car this week being human at one point in his life, and not having any real type of emotion or care in the world, knowing that there was a bomb on one of the train cars, but they were just going to allow this bomb to go off because they already had put civilians in there. And by doing that, it just strengthens the point of the extensions, or like the robot parts and all that different stuff. If the citizens had that, they could have protected themselves. They could have had forewarned themselves, and you know what I mean? Like, they were going to use that in any way, shape, or form to be like, a terrorist attack happened on this train, like all the stuff, but leave out the fact that they knew about it all and they still allowed it to happen. So a much, much corrupted world that needs some uncorrupting is getting very lost for me in the case of, like, how are they going to handle the overall oversight of this, the power that this place has to be able to do something like that, to switch out all of its targets that these people, these attackers wanted to hit, and then boom, they all of a sudden are now also in a position to be able to make the right decision uh, going forward with more of these maybe attacks. So it it makes you think outside of the box with this show. Is what are they truly trying to achieve by making people more like them, and are they really trying to make them more like them for humanity's reason, or are they doing this for their own purpose, right? So there's a lot going on in this show, and I feel like if you do even miss one episode, you'll definitely miss some little tidbit that was thrown out there and there, here and there. And I feel like that's a good quality in a show, is that you have to watch most of it or all of it to have a full grasp of what could pop off, or like if something does pop off, you have an understanding of why it's popping off and for good reason. So we'll see how you guys are taking this show. I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, evening, whatever the case may be. I am your boy, the Anime G, and I definitely will be talking to you with something soon, so make sure you have your eyes and ears open for that, and I will talk to you then. So with that being said, take care and peace. Aw, so close. Really? Hmm.